Charles Darwin was born into comfort and privilege in 1809. The grandson of Erasmus Darwin, a famous physician and poet, and Josiah Wedgwood, the pottery magnate. His father, a wealthy doctor, sent him to Edinburgh to study medicine, but the young Darwin was horrified by surgery performed without anesthesia and dropped out. His father then sent him to Cambridge to become a clergyman, which Darwin found only slightly less tedious. What truly consumed him was collecting beetles, tramping through fields, and reading about the natural world. In 1831, a fateful letter arrived. Captain Robert Fitzroy of HMS Beagle needed a gentleman companion for a 2-year surveying voyage around the world. Darwin, 22 years old and desperate to avoid the clergy, leaped at the chance. The voyage stretched to 5 years and took him from the jungles of Brazil to the earthquake-shattered coast of Chile, from the ancient forests of Tierra del Fuego to the coral atolls of the Pacific. He collected thousands of specimens, filled notebook after notebook with observations, and suffered seasickness so severe that he spent much of the voyage in his hammock. It was the Galapagos Islands, a volcanic archipelago 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador, that planted the seed of revolution. Darwin noticed that the mockingbirds on different islands looked slightly different from one another, and the giant tortoises varied in shell shape from island to island. He did not grasp the full significance at the time, but back in England, when ornithologist John Good examined Darwin's bird specimens and revealed that what Darwin had assumed were different species of birds were actually all finches, each with a beak adapted to a different food source, the implications hit him like a thunderbolt. For 20 years, Darwin worked in secret on his theory of evolution by natural selection. He knew the idea was dynamite. It meant that species were not individually created by God, but had descended from common ancestors through a process of gradual change driven by competition for survival. The fittest individuals in any population, those best suited to their environment, were more likely to survive and reproduce, passing their advantageous traits to the next generation. Over millions of years, this relentless process could transform a simple organism into the staggering diversity of life on Earth. Darwin confided to his friend Joseph Hooker that revealing his theory felt like confessing a murder. He kept delaying publication, piling up evidence, breeding pigeons, dissecting barnacles, corresponding with naturalists around the world. Then in 1858, a letter arrived from Alfred Russel Wallace, a young naturalist working in the Malay archipelago, who had independently arrived at the same theory. Darwin was stunned. A joint presentation was hastily arranged at the Linnean Society, and Darwin finally rushed his great book to completion. On the Origin of Species was published on November 24, 1859, and the first edition of 1,250 copies sold out on the first day. The reaction was explosive. Scientists were divided, but increasingly persuaded by the sheer weight of evidence. The church was outraged. At a famous debate at Oxford in 1860, Bishop Samuel Wilberforce mockingly asked Thomas Huxley whether he was descended from an ape on his grandfather's or grandmother's side. Huxley replied that he would rather be descended from an ape than from a man who used his intellect to obscure the truth. Darwin spent the rest of his life at his country estate in Kent, quietly amassing more evidence and publishing books on orchids, earthworms, and human emotions. He suffered from a mysterious chronic illness that left him bedridden for days at a time. He died in 1882 and was buried in Westminster Abbey, near Isaac Newton. The man who had once planned to be a country parson had instead revealed the mechanism by which life itself creates, destroys, and endlessly reinvents its own forms, a truth so powerful that it remains the foundation of all biology to this day.